Welcome to a short preview of this Screencasts Online video tutorial. One of the most critical aspects when using an iOS device is its battery health and the amount of charge available to you. With the new iOS 12 release, the amount of information available to you to check on how your battery is performing has been increased significantly. So let's take a look. Now, to get an idea of how this works in real life, rather than show you my demo device, I'm going to use my personal iPhone here, and using this we'll be able to see some real-world information that I've gathered over the past few days. So, to get to the battery information, well, you can either go into Settings or you can use Siri. Let's go in via Settings first. So Settings, and then if we go down to Battery. So at the top we have low power mode. Low power mode has been with us for a while now, and it's the first thing that I switch on if I'm traveling with my iPhone. If I know I'm going to be away from a charger for a good length of time, I'll tend to switch on low power mode. It doesn't really affect many operations of the phone itself, but does conserve battery life significantly. In fact, let me go here. Let's use Siri to both open up the battery settings and also to switch on low power mode. So let's switch on low power mode first. Hey Siri, switch on low power mode.
Okay, I've turned on low power mode.
And then we can switch it off again. Hey Siri, switch off low power mode.
Okay, I've turned off low power mode.
Interestingly, this is new for iOS 12. Low power mode used to disable Hey Siri, so it wasn't possible to turn it back off again using your voice, but with iOS 12 you can. That's just a quick preview of one of this week's Apple-related tutorials from Screencasts Online. Screencasts Online is your premium source of Apple-related video tutorials. All of our members get access to brand new, up-to-date tutorials each week, as well as unlimited access to our entire video archive full of Mac and iOS-related tutorials. You can stream and download all of our videos on your Mac, iPad and iPhone, and even your Apple TV using the members-only Screencasts Online Apple TV app. Membership also includes a complimentary subscription to the digital Screencasts Online monthly magazine, published each month and packed with videos, articles, reviews, as well as hints and tips covering all aspects of the Mac, iPad, iPhone, and all of the other fantastic Apple products. So, if you're ready to start getting the most out of your Apple devices, visit ScreenCastsOnline.com today and become a Screencasts Online member.